Well, thank you so much for coming on.
It's my pleasure.
I'm so excited. Have you been on a podcast like someone else's in a while?
Not in a while. It's so different. Like being on the opposite end of this, I'm like, cool, this is fun.
It is.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I love like being able to talk myself and then listen myself. So it's nice. It gets you the best of both worlds. Eh?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like when it's my own podcast too, I'm like, can talk about random shit. I'm like noticing myself being like, oh, all right. It's going to see how unhinged it gets.
Yeah, literally. But the best thing when you're on someone else's podcast, you just talk about yourself because that's kind of the whole point, which is so nice.
Yeah. Loves attention.
Yeah. When I look at you, I see a very secure and confident person. I want to know, was this something that you had to work on? Has it always come naturally to you?
Oh my gosh, no. Absolutely not. Oh my gosh. Confidence was something that always felt out of reach for me. And it felt like it was this thing that was far away, but almost like one step too far out from me. It was like everyone else had it. All of these women on social media had it. But like inside, I was like this insecure little girl who just really, really struggled. And there was something that I actually experienced when I was younger that kind of triggered all of this insecurity for me. And I'll share it with you if you're open to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So obviously, like I've gone down this path of like personal development. And it was triggered from experiences of mine, as we all do. We all have a story. And, I think growing up, I was always like, I always wanted the fairy tale, right? It's like, we grow up and we go to the movies and like we see these movies with our parents and we're like, oh my God, like I want a Prince Charming and I want a man to come and sweep me off my feet. And I remember growing up and thinking like, oh my God, I want that. And there was this one moment I remember I went to the movies with my mum. And I remember coming out of the cinema thinking that and being like, oh my God, like I want that for myself. And so I remember from like 15 or so, I always wanted a man. And I thought like that would complete my life. Yeah. And at that age, I wasn't really aware of like confidence or insecurity or like anything like that. So it wasn't quite like in the forefront of my mind. And then I started liking boys and I was like, okay, cool. Like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to find the one and I'm going to have the white picket fence and all the beautiful things. And I dated a man quite young. So I ran into this man at a party and, lo and behold, I was like, oh my God, I found the one. He's my man.
First time, like, wow.
Yeah, I found the one. And, we ended up dating for a little while. And, when you're young, you're kind of like you're experimenting. So you're learning through these people and through the men that you date or women, whoever you're into, like how to actually navigate with other people. And, it wasn't the best relationship. I think it was like a little bit more toxic than I would have liked to admit. But at the time I was so like, I had like the rose colored glasses. So I was like, oh my God, no, he's the one. He's the one that I want to have children with and get married with and all of the things. Anyway, that relationship didn't work out.
As most when we're 15, 16
yes,
don't.
Absolutely. And that relationship didn't work out. Anyway, a couple of years later, I started to experiment and like party a little bit and just kind of like, come into myself as a woman. And there was this one moment in my life that was like earth shattering for me. And my girlfriend, Laura, she was out at a party this one night and I was at home in bed, like watching Netflix. I was like, I don't want to go out tonight. I just want to sit at home and just be by myself. And she calls me up on the phone and she goes like, Tij, I need to talk to you right now. And I'm like, what's happened? Like, is everything okay? And she's like, I can't tell you, but I need to see you. Can I come over? And like at this point, when you share with your best friends, like that was an unusual thing for her not to tell me. I was like, why are you not telling me what's wrong? Yeah. Like something's bad has happened. And so my heart literally like sank in my chest. I was like sitting on the end of my bed, so anxious. And I was just like, fuck, like someone that we love is hurt. She's been hurt. Like maybe she's been like raped or something like that. I thought something was so bad. Anyway, she comes in, she lets herself into my room. She sits on the end of my bed and she goes, Tijana, I need to tell you something. And I was like, please tell me. And she goes, I was sitting around a party at Jamie's house, which is her boyfriend at the time. And I overheard them talking about you. And they were talking about a video that they had seen of you. And I was like my heart was like, oh, no. What video? And she's like, they were talking about a video that they were watching of you and one of them had it on his phone. And my heart just like fell out of my ass in that moment because I knew what it was.
Yeah.
She didn't know. And I just burst into tears because what I hadn't told her was that that partner that I was with, I'd made an intimate video with. And him and I, at the time, we were young. We were 17 when we made it. And, you know, I remember in that moment thinking, like, I want to delete it. I want to delete the video. And I said that to him. But at the time, I wasn't strong enough in my boundaries or in myself as a woman to even like stand true to that. I was just like, oh, it'll be fine. Like, it'll just stay on his computer and no one will see it. Anyway, to like my knowledge, and she had asked these people, that video had gone around my whole hometown.
Wow.
So this literally like a revenge sex tape. And it was something that it shattered my world, honestly. Yeah.
As it would.
Yeah. Like when I think about when I found out that night, I just like burst into tears. And she was sitting on the end of my bed and she was like trying to console me. And I was just like hyperventilating and shaking. And I remember like sitting in the shower that night thinking like, what am I going to do? You know, like everyone in my hometown has seen it and everyone has seen me in my most intimate and vulnerable way. And when I tell you like the video was not a good video, it was not a good video.
When are they ever good?
Right? And it was like this moment of like feeling so like impure and so imperfect in myself and like broken. I was just like, oh my God, no one's going to love me. Like, how am I ever going to find like a future partner when that was all that I wanted? How is anybody going to want to love me when men like women who are pure? And I felt so impure and it broke me. Like, it just felt like, I think the biggest thing when I sat in the shower that night, the thing that kept like relaying in my head was like, how am I going to tell my dad? How am I going to tell my dad that the town that he has built a legacy in is now like clouded by the fact that his daughter has a sex tape that's gone around the town?
That's hard. Was it a small town?
It was Wollongong, so like south of Sydney.
Yeah.
Still like 300,000 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still like going around knowing that, well, thinking that people know and thinking that people are thinking about you.
Yeah.
That's never going to feel good. So take me into then when that was all happening, when you were like sort of making the tape, you didn't have boundaries. Was that because you wanted to just do everything you could to keep this person? Did you know in the moment you didn't really want it?
Absolutely. I knew that like my intuition was like screaming at me like, you need to get rid of this. Like, this is for some reason, like this isn't right. And it was almost like this guilt trip. This is what he said. We've been together for 2.5 years. Don't you trust me yet? And in that moment, I was like, fuck, it's going to make me look like a bad partner if I say no. What if I don't trust him after 2.5 years? What kind of partner does that make me? And so in that moment, I felt like something was off, but I wasn't able to like honor myself in that moment because growing up, like I had been a people pleaser for years and years on end. So it was like, even when I felt like I wanted to put a boundary in, I didn't even know how to do that because I was like, but how does that make me look? I didn't want to upset the person. I didn't want to look like a bitch. I didn't want to look rude. I didn't want to look like, you know, I wasn't the cool, nice, cool, calm, collected girlfriend that everyone wants and everyone portrays. And so even in that moment, I felt like that was like one of my first moments of like true self-abandonment. And then, and it came back to bite me in the ass of like, this is that thing of when you don't honor yourself in moments, like it will show up in ways that like comes back to bite you in the ass. And I hope like not to this extent where it happens like this, but in a way where you will feel the repercussions of that self-abandonment in everything that you do.
100%. And I can think of times in my life where I have not listened to that intuition for so long, and then it was like little sign, and then it came to a big thing, that big moment where you're like, oh yeah, no, I haven't listened to my gut. But it's a misconception about boundaries that we think that when we set a boundary we're like a bitch or we're like not a cool person. But boundaries are cool and they make us better people, more trusting people. But when you're young or you don't really have that knowledge, you do just think a boundary is like, I'm setting a boundary that's making me like a parent.
Yes, 100%. And you know what's interesting? In this experience, the biggest thing that kind of tipped me over the edge was Like there was an onslaught of things that happened after this experience. One, an immense amount of self-shame. Like if you've been through shame, you know what it feels like. It is one of the heaviest frequencies that you can feel. And not only that, it limits you in every other area of your life. And so through that experience, what I've experienced still staying in that town was like the bullying and like the online trolling and the people walking past me. Literally, I'd go to a bar and people would walk past me and they'd whisper slut underneath their breath. Or I'd have men message me on fake accounts while I was in the gym being like, I just want to warn you, there's a group of guys watching the video behind your back as you're training. And I would walk out crying. And I'd just be like, my life is fucking over. And as I would learn how many people had it on their phones, people messaging me off fake accounts being like, hey, this is it. Is this you? And sending it to me. And then I'd have to watch it again and like be reminded of the decision that I made in that moment. I just like, I felt like such a shell of a human, because the thing that it kept coming back to was like, how am I ever going to make a name for myself when people have seen me so vulnerably raw in a way that I didn't give them permission to see me? And that shame, I feel like, can be so correlated with, you know, us as women not wanting to go after the things that we want to go after in life, you know, work, business, career, things that are actually important to us. Because in that moment, I was like, fuck, I feel so unworthy in myself because of all this shame, because of the slut shaming, because people bullying me and sending me trolls messaging. Literally, it was nonstop for like 6 months. And yeah, I remember getting to a point where I just felt like I was wanting to take away the pain, you know, and I would even think about like what it would feel like to like, this is so bleak, but like literally cut myself to like take away the shame that I was like holding and like trying to figure out ways that I could get rid of that, you know. And then I went down a path of like drinking and alcohol and drugs and trying to numb the shame that I felt. And it was like, the interesting thing about this is shame is such an interesting thing. It stopped me from being able to like self-pleasure for like 4 years after that. Because the story that I told myself was like, I'm so dirty for wanting this. Like you're a slut for wanting that. You shouldn't want to be intimate. And even if I had a partner, that level of shame and that like public scrutiny that I felt and the judgment from everyone in my hometown, like literally like no one wanted to be friends with me after that. But that would then meet me in like my intimate relationships where I'd try to connect with somebody new or would be dating for 6 months and I'd push that person away because intimately I carried so much shame that I wouldn't let that person in. And then every time we'd have sex, it'd be like pushing them away and like not wanting to be close to them and numbing myself, actually physically feeling numb that like I couldn't orgasm.
How else did that show up in your relationships, like intimate and even just like your friendships?
The video?
The shame.
The shame I would feel, it showed up in my relationships because I isolated myself. So for a really long time, I was so shameful about what I experienced. I kind of guarded myself off from the rest of the world because I couldn't hold the judgment and the shame and like also the made up stories in my head of what I thought others were saying about me, right? So it'd be like I'd walk into a new place and they'd say hello and be like, hey, I'm da-da-da. I'd be like, hey, I'm Tijana. And the first thing that I would think is, have they seen the video?
Yeah.
Do they know about it? Have they already spoken about it with their friends? Like didn't know whether I was like the laughing stock or not because that's how I felt in myself. And I think as I've like learned how to come into like my business and growth and like really transform that story, because I had that story of like, this is going to be a skeleton that fucks with my life forever. I was like, you know what? Like nothing can be worse than people seeing me naked. Do you know what I mean?
Hit
like
rock bottom.
I wanted to be famous, but like not like Kim K, but it turned out, do you know what I mean? Like it kind of went that way. Like that's not the way that I would have thought that it would have gone. But the thing that I realized in all of this and in all of the shame and the heaviness and like the just feeling violated from people seeing me like that was like, if I can experience that and I can hold that and I can come out the other side of that, then going on social media or posting about business or life or trying to build something for myself is like 1% scary in comparison to things that I had felt. You know, 1% you being seen as opposed to someone seeing me like fully butt naked.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I can talk to the camera and I can make a 30-second video or talk about something that I'm passionate about because 1, I've walked through the fire, and 2, because nothing can be worse than what you've already experienced. And I think that was like one of the biggest lessons that I learned in all of that was like, yes, I'm sure unfortunate things like this happen all of the time. It taught me about boundaries and it taught me about honoring myself. And it also taught me that when women carry shame, they limit themselves in so many different ways, whether that's in their intimate relationship, in their relationship with themselves, in their business endeavors, in their dreams, and all of the things that they want to do. Because when they don't feel good enough, like innately good enough, they're not going to try for anything, because that story in their head is so much louder than any potential judgment than any woman could ever say that's coming from social media, or man, because there's a lot of men trolls out there too.
I think a lot of people walk through that fire, but not everybody comes out the other side. So then rebuilding, you're obviously here now being able to share the story. What did the first steps look like? What were the key things? Was it a slow burn, or was it one day you just woke up and you were like, I need to take my power back?
Honestly, it was a slow burn because I went down before I went up. Like I partied, I got sucked into drugs. I wouldn't recommend this path, but I got lost in that. The reason why I got lost in that is because I was running from myself. I was running from the fear that I felt, the judgment, the shame. And the interesting thing is, like, when I was drunk, the careless, carefree Tijana came out, who was confident, didn't give a fuck about what anybody thought about me. And it was like this liberation feeling that kind of came over my body whenever I would drink or do drugs or whatever, and I would get lost in that and I would lose myself in that. But then I got to a point where I was starting to make decisions where I was losing the people around me because I was getting so sucked into that world and that life. I was making decisions I wasn't proud of. I was deepening my shame. I was doing things that weren't in integrity with, like, taking care of the people that I loved and, like, you know, becoming a different version of myself when I was drinking or on drugs. As you know, like, we're not the same person. Nothing good ever happens after 12 o'clock.
No.
Like, it doesn't. And so I think I went down a good path of, like, at least like 4 to 6 months of that and, like, really losing myself and it getting worse before it got better. And I remember actually having a conversation with my sister and she was like, Tijana, like, you need help. She's like, I know you've experienced a lot and you're holding a lot of shame and all the things, but you're making your life worse. And if you don't get help, you're going to lose me. And after she said that, I was just like, fuck, like, I actually need to do something. And I remember calling, like, a life coach for the first time. And, like, I'd been to psychologists before and tried that. It didn't work. Didn't feel like it suited me. Called a life coach. And the first thing that I thought was like, fuck, this bitch is going to tell all my secrets. You know what I mean? Like, I was so skeptical. I was so terrified. I had no trust for anyone. If I could be with somebody for 2.5 years who could do that and betray me, like, why would I trust somebody who I just met for 5 seconds? Why would I do that? But I did. And that was the trajectory, the start, at least, of the trajectory of me, one, becoming sober for now, like 3 years. 3 years alcohol, 5 years drugs. And going on the path of, like, rediscovering my sense of self-worth again. And, you know, the biggest thing about the things that I teach now with my clients and why I teach what I teach is self-worth is not just how you look in a dress or how you feel when you put makeup on. It's about your relationship with your self-trust. And through that journey and going back to that time in my life, what mattered to me then wasn't how I looked in the mirror. It was how I held my head up high when people were telling me that they were watching a sex tape of me literally in the same room. And I would walk out crying and I would pick myself back up in that moment and go, this doesn't define you. This doesn't have to be your story. This doesn't have to be all that there is for you, because you love you. You are a good person. You have a good heart. You want good for other people. You have big dreams and ambitions and all of these things that you want to achieve. Don't let this be the reason that this stops you. And from then, it was every single decision that I made, I treated it like it was the most important decision of my life. And by doing that, I was able to turn my sense of self-confidence around and my sense of self-worth from literally being deeper than the fucking dirt to, like, where I feel now. And I still have a long way to go. But the power of teaching it the way that I do, which is simply confidence is just your representation of your level of self-trust. It is your level of integrity. And when you treat every single decision that you make in your life as a decision that's able to shift your sense of self-worth, you treat it like it's important. You know, it's like you would, you know, when you do like a work task, right? You put it in your calendar because it's important. When you treat your behavior and every single decision you make in your life as if it's that fucking important, you will become somebody that you actually believe in. And that is what I believe is so important about this journey of, like, self-worth and believing in yourself and believing that you are somebody who is capable of doing it, is that you are somebody that you can rely on. Because if you can't rely on yourself, you can't fucking rely on anyone. You can't rely on anything, because you're going to want for people outside of you to fix you or to do it for you or to do the hard things for you.
Yep.
But it's like the only thing that matters is in those moments when you are literally at rock bottom. Maybe you've had a negative experience like what I have, or something worse, or you're trying to build a business, or you're in the pits of your relationship. The only person who can push through in those moments is literally you. And I imagine you experience this with prep at the moment. Nobody fights the mental battle that you battle.
Yeah,
Only
exactly.
you. It is you versus you.
Yeah, that confidence piece is so valuable, and I want to stay on that for a moment because I think my audience, there's a lot, like majority of my audience is like fitness based, and I speak about this so much that like your confidence doesn't come from what you look like. It never comes from what you look like. It comes from, do you do the things you say you're going to do? Do you have trust in yourself? And I think that's so important. So how do you sort of view that compared to when you were super young? How does that confidence look different?
In terms of, do you mean how did it feel then versus how it feels now?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have any back then.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? It was fleeting. It was actually, no, it's a lie. I faked it. When I was younger, I faked it. And I'm talking like all the way into my early 20s when I was drinking, when I was partying, when I was pretending like I was this really confident person. When I would walk out of the gym after somebody telling me they'd watched a sex tape of me, I faked the confidence.
Yeah.
It was pretend. It was make believe.
What did you think it was going to feel like?
Confidence?
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't know because I was too busy pretending to even think about what it would take to actually get there. And that's what I think the difference is when I was younger, I was pretending because I was so terrified of what people would think if I weren't confident, if they didn't perceive me as confident. So I was pretending like I was up here when really I was down here. But the interesting thing about that and the paradox about that is that when you pretend you're up here, you have nowhere to grow. There's nowhere to grow. So if you're already pretending you're up here, there's nowhere. You stay up there and you have to almost like keep up this facade of pretending so that no one finds out that you're a fucking fraud. Because that's how you feel. Not saying that you're actually a fraud, but that's how you feel inside. Like you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm an imposter. And then you start to doubt yourself and then the spiral starts to happen. And so I think the difference between then and now is that I genuinely believe it. And I don't believe that confidence is you either have it or you don't. It's how much of it do you have. And I think that's a really important distinction to make in this because you can, like it's interchangeable. And it's almost like Brené Brown's marble jar theory. Have you heard that before?
No.
Oh my gosh,
me.
it's so good. Okay, so her theory of the marble jar is based on trust. So basically she says when you... a marble jar is like trust, okay? So every time that you do something that you say that you're going to do, you put a marble in the jar. And then you do that 10 times. And then you do that 20 times. And now your jar is like half full. So your jar is half full. And now all of a sudden you trust yourself. But every time that you do something that you don't like or that, you don't show up for yourself, you don't follow through, take a marble out of the jar. And so your level of confidence or self-trust is interchangeable based on the way that you choose to show up for yourself. And so when you do something bad or wrong or you don't show up for yourself, you don't need to shame yourself and think, oh, fuck, my confidence is gone now. Because it's not. It's not. You've just taken a marble out of the jar. And all you have to do is to rebuild that sense of trust with yourself by putting a marble back in the jar.
Yeah.
And so you've now replaced that. And so I thought that was a really cool concept as well because this is the thing. A lot of women think I either have confidence or I don't. It either eludes me and it feels like something that's out of my reach and it feels like something that is not attainable for me, or it's somebody who's pretending or somebody who actually is embodied in it. So it's like understanding where you are on the scale and understanding how you feel in your level of confidence now so that you can kind of gauge, okay, where can I go from here?
Yeah. It's making me think about, I had a client check in this morning with a client and I was saying to them, like, we just want to focus on micro wins.
Yes.
It's just the same. It's like you're not either fit or not fit or confident or not confident. It's never black or white. You just focus on one tiny little micro win and that stacks a little chip up in the confidence piece or the not confidence piece.
Yes.
And so what would you say, like, key first things people need to do is just focus on things that they can control in terms of confidence? Like, what would you tell somebody who is struggling to even think about how do they put a marble in the jar?
I would firstly just say that confidence is a game of one. It is you versus you. You think that you right now you're basing your confidence on what other people think of you and how
Yeah.
other people perceive you. Cut out the noise. Put your blinders on. Confidence is a game of one. When you realize that you are not in competition with anybody, you are on your own path, you are in your own race, you will then realize that everyone else's success or everyone else's achievements or experience is fucking irrelevant. None of it matters. And when you realize that, you can put your blinders on and you can focus on just literally the next step. That's all it takes. And something that I actually get a lot of my clients to do who come in when I first start working with them in one-on-one is I will literally say to them, we're going to do a trust building exercise. And I want it to be so simple that your ego comes at me and says, oh, I can do so much more than that. Because that's where you want them to be. You want them to feel like it's so achievable that of course I can do it. That's the level of self-belief we want to instill. And it's something that you can change literally within 7 days, less. So what I get them to do is write a list every single day of 1 to 3 things that you are going to achieve that day. And with all of your might and all of your force, tick those things off on the list, but make them simple to achieve. Okay. So your ego is sitting there looking at me going, Tiana, that's so fucking easy. You're actually insulting me. Okay. Tick that off for 5 days. Watch by day 3 or day 4 how much your energy shifts and the way that you feel about yourself shifts. Because after that 3rd day, you've actually done the thing that you said that you were going to do. And you've now closed the mental loop of the thing that you've been talking about or thinking about for the last 3 months. That's where I would say to start.
I love that. I think that is so powerful, and that can apply to absolutely anyone or anything around fitness, business, just like your mental health,
Yeah.
like rebuilding that self-trust. And then all you're doing is rewiring your brain to say like, oh, I do the things I say I'm going to do.
Oh my gosh, every time. It's so important. And as I mentioned before, I believe that we think in loops. Like we either have open loops or closed loops. And this is the way that I like to think about it. When you have something on your to-do list, it's an open loop. Or you have something that you want to achieve, it's an open loop. And until you close that loop and you actually tick that thing off, it's going to fester in your mind. And that open loop is going to take up mental, emotional, physical bandwidth that you likely don't have. That's going to eat away at you every single time. And it's not the problem. It's not a problem that we don't do what we say we're going to do most of the time. It's the secondary emotion that comes on top of that. It's the fact that, oh, I didn't do what I said I was going to do, and now I feel shame because I didn't do that thing. I didn't go to the gym. Oh, cool. Now I'm not the person that I say that I am. Okay, cool. Well, now I'm going to go binge eat, right? It's the secondary emotion and then the secondary behavior that we do on top of those things. So if we were to just see things with a really neutral lens, and this is the biggest tip that I can give you, start seeing your behavior as data collection. Data collection. All you are doing is getting to know yourself. When you see yourself in this way, you stop putting so much emphasis on your emotional state. You're no longer having emotional highs and you're no longer having emotional lows. You are able to see yourself with neutrality. And when you can do that, you can then pivot really quickly because there's no heavy wave of shame that comes after not doing that thing. You just go, oh, on Monday, I didn't go to the gym. Okay, cool. Tuesday, I go to the gym. There's no emotional wave to it. There's no highs. There's no lows. It's simply data collection so that you can go, I choose to behave this way next. And that's been the biggest thing.
I love that. And I'm thinking about all of my clients with like the health and fitness goals. And that's always what it is. It's like that, oh, I didn't go to the gym. We all miss a gym session, and we all know what missing one gym session is not going to make you lose all your muscle. But then the shame and the guilt that comes from that, it then bleeds into their nutrition, their self-belief, their steps, their relationship with their partner.
Yeah, it leaks into everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. It really is like that leak, and it can snowball, but it can snowball in the right way very quickly and easily too. It can pick yourself up by literally just going to the gym and then having that as a neutral experience.
And you know what's interesting? You mentioned the word discipline, did you maybe? I'm not sure. It sparked a thought for me actually. And when it comes to like self-discipline, when you are struggling and you feel like you don't have any, you have to go all out in that first small period of time. until you can nail discipline where it doesn't feel like brute force and actually comes from devotion instead, you have to be very strict on yourself in the beginning. But there will hit a point where when that shift goes from force to devotion, then there has to be a period where you can start actually taking care of yourself and start listening to your body and what it needs, right? Because like what you mentioned, we all miss a gym session. Sure, we all do it. I do it. But in the very beginning when I was building my discipline, I felt like I couldn't. But because I hadn't nailed discipline yet, I didn't feel trusting in myself enough. I didn't feel confident in my word just yet. So on those days where I felt like, no, I don't really want to go today, I don't want to take a break, I would make sure that I would go to the gym, because I was like, right now, building discipline with myself is more important than me having a rest day. And then when you built that self-trust with yourself enough and you feel like, I believe in myself enough, I know I'm not lying to myself right now, I know I'm not just trying to get out of the next gym session.
Yeah.
You're going to then go, okay, cool, I actually need rest. I'm overworked. Maybe I have my cycle and I feel like I'm super tired and I actually need to have a break. You can then have a break, but you've got to recognize what stage that you're in for that. And when you can shift from that place of force, from that place of force to self-devotion, everything about what you choose for yourself will change, because you're not trying to punish yourself. Having discipline, having boundaries, building your body, like building your mindset, like changing the way that you show up in everyday life. You're not doing it because you're trying to punish yourself. You're trying to do it because you love yourself and you want better for yourself. And so when you start making decisions from a place of like self-love as opposed to almost like punishment, everything in your life will get better. And also there's some element as well, something that I used to do and also something that I see in my clients is we tend to get really emotionally overwhelmed all of the time because, one, we have all these goals. We don't know what to do with them. We don't know how to start them, whether that be body, mind, business, whatever it is. And we feel super overwhelmed about it. But the thing is, the more structure that you create in your personal life, the easier it will be to follow through on those goals. If you don't have structure in your life, and I'm talking just your personal life, I'm talking when you go to bed at night, when you wake up in the morning, what time you eat. If you don't have structure and a time for you to do everything, your life will feel like fucking chaos all of the time. And I can only say it because I did it. I can only say it because I did it. But the interesting thing is that disciplinary, you being your own disciplinary, creates more freedom in your life than you could ever imagine. And I know you understand this too.
100%.
It is the biggest game changer. And it's the biggest thing that I see in the women who come into my coaching, who come in really overwhelmed. They don't have structure in their lives. They don't have structure with working out, with their mind, with when they eat, when they do all these things. And they're like, I feel so overwhelmed. I don't even know how to start thinking about my goals. But it's because you like, if you start where you are, you're only going to add more chaos. But if you have order and what your current life looks like feels manageable, of course you're going to be able to integrate a whole new element of like business, work, life, training, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So it's like the more order that you have and the more discipline that you have with yourself is going to change the relationship that you have with yourself.
I love that. And yeah, I wish that I could just like put that in everybody's brain that like people look at structure and discipline and routine as like, putting them in a box, but all it does is it sets you free because you have so much autonomy over your life. You don't feel like life's controlling you. You feel like you're controlling it, and you just have so much more flexibility. That's so true.
So much.
Where does identity and the way that we talk about ourselves come into this? Because I'm thinking about people I've spoken to in the past that are like, yeah, but that's easy for you to say, but I'm not like that. Or I can't be a morning person, or these like things that we say. Does that have a role in all of this that we're talking about?
Oh my gosh, so much. Even what you just said, I'm not a morning person. I could never do that. Like you were ingrained in that. It's so funny because I was the person who had the worst head noise. The worst head noise. I know we all experience it to some degree. We are all our worst inner critic. And the interesting thing is like what you tell yourself, you will create more of. Like it's just a fact. It's like, I was trying to think of an analogy. You know the Where's Wally books?
Yeah.
Yeah, like as a child?
Yes.
The way that I like to explain this is whatever it is that you were thinking and telling yourself will be Wally, right? So whether good or bad, you're looking for Wally. You're not looking at the 250 other characters on the book. You don't give a shit about who's there. You care about what Wally is. So whether you're telling yourself that you can and that you can work through anything, and if you put your mind to it, like, you'll actually achieve it, or if you tell yourself, I can't do this. I'm not a morning person. I am not somebody who gets to have this kind of life. You will absolutely create that because you want to be right. You want to prove yourself right. That's your ego. Your ego wants to be right all of the time. Whether it's good for you or not is totally up to you. And so I think a huge part in changing your identity, because I really do think it has a huge role to play in you changing who you are. If you want to, like, one day you can just wake up and totally advocate for something that is totally different. And I can say it because I feel like I've had to reinvent myself a million times on my journey. One day where I would just wake up after being sick of my own behavior for 6 months, and I'd wake up one day and I'd be like, you know what, fuck this. No, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to cut drinking out of my life entirely. I'm going to cut drugs out of my life entirely. I'm going to cut these people out of my life entirely. And I'm no longer going to allow these people to walk all over me. So I started setting boundaries. And so you have to almost match the identity of who you want to be with the behavior you're trying to be. But the thing is, people have this made up timeline in their head of when they think that will happen. And I read this quote the other day. It really stuck with me. And it was like, people think that you need more time. But the truth is, change will happen when you realize that you don't need any more time. And I was just like, I couldn't have put it into better words, because your made up timeline is just resistance. You're just scared. You just don't want to do the thing because you know it feels hard and you don't want to have to face that. And that's okay, because I've been there too. But if you, instead of going, okay, at New Year's, I want to start my dream body, and you do it now, imagine having almost a month and a half's worth of evidence that you can actually do the thing by the time New Year's even comes around. And I think, yes, attaching the identity, but removing the timeline completely. Whatever it is that you want, write it down. Make it really simple. One word answer, one sentence. What do I want? Okay, cool. How can I implement that now? What's one small thing that I can do today that's going to help me embody that version of myself? And anything that I want to do, let's say, for example, this year has been about me learning how to be a better business owner. I'm juggling 2 businesses at the moment, my coaching business and also my podcast business, which has like 5 pillars underneath that alone. So this year has been all about my leadership skills because I'm running a team now. And so the story that I would then tell myself is, sure, I may not have a lot of experience in this outside of working with VAs, but I will learn, because I know I'll put my mind to it and I will just become that person. And the interesting thing is, you learn so much more by doing than you do by talking about it or learning about it. Like, you don't learn how to drive a car by thinking about it or doing all of the, what is it called?
The theory.
Yeah, the theory. You don't learn how to drive a car by that. You have to put your foot in, like, you have to get in the game. And when you get your skin in the game, everything will change. So condense the time between you wanting the thing and you actually doing, and you will completely obliterate all of the resistance, and you will timeline jump like that. Because yesterday you were the version of yourself who didn't show up and didn't go to the gym consistently or didn't go on the stepper. And today you're the girl sitting on the stepper for 30 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can change and shift anytime that you want, but you also have to clock the old identity that will seep back in unconsciously. Because when you are trying to become something new and you want to be that person, your conscious mind is only 5%, right? So 95% of your unconscious mind is stronger than your conscious will. You may want to be the girl who shows up for herself and does all the things, but how good are you at clocking all of the negative shit that comes up and tries to get in the way of you actually achieving that thing? How good are you at clocking the stories of, oh, but I'm not good enough. Oh, but what about this problem? And what about this roadblock? And oh no, I can't get there because I don't have petrol in my car and because of this, and all of the fucking bullshit stories that we tell ourselves. How good are you at breaking down those stories and not believing them the moment that they come into your mind? Because your ability to become somebody new is not always about adding all of this new shit into your life. It's about what you subtract from what you're already doing that's stopping you from getting there.
And so what does that look like? Are you journaling? Are you consciously like listening to that thought, trying to reframe it? Are you ignoring it?
I'm not in a season of journaling at the moment. I don't know why. I think I can sometimes write in my journal as if like someone's going to read it one day. You know, like I write stories.
Dear diary.
Dear diary, yeah. For me, it doesn't feel, I don't feel like it's necessary, to be honest. Like, unless you're actively unpacking something and you need time to sit with it, I don't think that you need it. I think it can sometimes be a really fluffy way of doing things. If you just want to cut to the chase and cut all the bullshit and all the fluff, what I say to myself when I'm having a bad day or I'm more prone to negative self-talk, I will literally say to myself, Tijana, we're not entertaining this today. We're not doing this today. And that's it.
I love that.
I don't need to do anything with it. I don't need to justify the story. I don't need to entertain it, give it more time or energy. Tijana, we're not entertaining this today. And then if it feels like something that I need a different approach on, if I'm scared and I'm feeling like, oh shit, this feels like a big mountain to climb and I am fucking terrified and shaking in my boots, then it will be more of like a self-talk thing where it's like, I understand that you're scared. Like I will close my eyes and I'll even like wrap my arms around myself and I'll like lay in my bed or like rock or whatever. And I'll just be like, I get that you're scared. And I will talk to myself as if I'm my 7-year-old self. Because sometimes all we need is that little bit of validation of what you're feeling is true and that someone sees you in it. And if we are constantly relying on other people outside of us to be that for us, we're always going to need somebody outside of us to do that for us. And then you know what happens? We outsource our power. We no longer trust in ourselves to show up for ourselves when it feels really hard because we go, but when I was struggling, I lent on that person. And when I was struggling, I lent on that other person or my partner that I always go to or my dad that I always go to, which was me, right? I always lent on my partners and my dad to be the person who would come and save me in my life. And you know what happened? I ended up having the worst panic attacks of my life whenever I had to deal with things on my own.
Has there been a moment recently where you've kind of realized like, oh, I'm that for myself now?
I think a lot of this year, to be honest, a lot of this year has been, I've grown a lot in the last 12 months and it's been a really beautiful thing to experience. And again, I have a long way to go. But I think in terms of how neutral I feel in my emotions now and in my emotional state, I feel like I can really regulate myself. And also I kind of know what my body needs or what I need whenever it is that I'm struggling. So like what I mentioned, sometimes I just need to like, Tiana, cut it out. If I can playing with some bullshit stories, leave it alone. Or it's like, no, I just need like a hug right now and I need to lay down for 15 minutes and like soothe myself for a second. And so I think learning how to show up for yourself in those moments is so fucking powerful. And yeah, I think to answer your question, has there been a moment for that for me? It has been this whole year of doing She Rises, because within this business, we have done 150 something episodes, launched in intimate in-person events, sold out 2 international retreats. We just launched another one, sold out that retreat as well. Like there's just so many moving parts to it. And I think as my vision for myself and my life has grown, so has my courage. And it doesn't always mean that I have all the right answers or that I know what to do or that I don't still get really overwhelmed and still get scared, because I do. Like I was literally crying with overwhelm like 3 weeks ago because I was just like, this is so much to hold. But I think in those moments, I'm willing to lean on my courage and I'm willing to bet on myself more now than I ever have, but because of the evidence that I've stacked, you know. And like Tiana 6 years ago wouldn't have believed that. She would have laughed. She would have been like, what do you fucking mean you're doing what you're doing and holding all of that? I wouldn't have believed it because I didn't believe in myself enough back then to believe that I could be a woman who could hold all of that. Yeah.
Was there a moment where you sort of realized halfway through this journey, like, okay, no, I actually feel like I have control? Because I think about myself a lot. I'm always saying like, my God, I don't have my shit together. And I sort of think, well, nobody really does. But have you ever felt like, oh no, I actually feel like I've got my shit together? Or do you think everybody always feels a little bit like, oh my God, I'm not in control?
Absolutely. I think everyone feels like that. I definitely have moments of that too. But I think, I mean, we can't control really anything in life. All we can control is how we show up and how we respond to things. And I think I've gotten to a point in my life where I feel proud of the way that I can respond to things now. Doesn't mean I'm perfect. Fuck no. I'm not going to claim that I am. But I am proud of myself and the way that I navigate life. And I believe that my biggest driver in the way that I do things is like, if I'm making decisions based on my values and also my level of integrity, like I can't go wrong. And so every decision, like what I mentioned in the very beginning, every decision is just as important as like, oh my gosh, this decision could change your life. I'm I prioritize that, and I make each decision so important, and I make that decision based off my level of integrity, and then I grow as a woman. My self-trust grows, my boundaries grow, what I expect from others grows, because also what I expect from myself also grows. And so I think leading my life from a place of like, what can I do today that's going to make me go to bed tonight, put my head on the pillow and be so fucking proud of the woman that I am and the woman that I showed up as, that's what I lead my life from. And I think if you start to do that too, anyone listening, like you will be proud of the woman that you see in the mirror. And I think that's where self-love stems from.
What do most people get wrong or don't understand about self-love? Like when people come to you for coaching, what's like the big thing?
Oh, I love this question. Self-love, the interesting, people think it's bubble baths. People think it's bubble baths and putting makeup on and putting a cute dress on and going to a bar, or having a really good, extensive 5 to 8 step skincare routine. And you know what? It's just, it makes me laugh only because I used to do it.
I just picture like a photo of someone with a face mask and cucumber, like self-care. That's just what came to mind.
Just taking care of myself today. No, but you know the interesting thing about this? Self-care is not self-trust. And people associate self-love with taking care of themselves. But self-love is more deep-rooted than that. It's not surface level. Self-love stems from liking the person that you are. But in order to like the person you are, you have to trust the person that you are. And so self-care is not self-trust. You can do the face masks and the bubble baths, but can you trust yourself to follow through when you go to the gym? No. You can do all those things. Can you trust yourself to start a new business and not bail after 3 months because you're scared? No. They don't equal the same things. And this is the biggest thing, because a lot of women come in confused about the definition of these different things and associating, oh, I love myself if I take care of myself and I do the masks and all the things. But what I truly believe self-love is the hard things. It's taking care of yourself. It's rebuilding your sense of self-trust. It's when you want to quit and you are so stretched to your limit, it's actually following through in that moment. In the moment when you want to give up, then you actually keep going. Or the moment you're in an argument with your partner and you want to scream at them because your triggers and your reactivity is coming out, you choose to be calm in that moment instead. It's like all of the little ways that you show up in life are what are creating your level of self-trust, therefore your love. Because, I truly believe that a lot of people try to jump to self-love, but they don't even like themselves. And I can only say that because I used to be that. I fucking used to loathe myself, right? And that's not like for pity or anything like that. It's just the relationship I had with myself was so low because of the person that I was and how I was showing up. I didn't have any self-trust. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't do the things that I said I was going to do. I was always out for myself, very selfish, always thought of consequences after the fact, which got me into a lot of trouble when I was younger. And that is part of the reason why, is because I actually didn't like the person that I saw in the mirror, and it had nothing to do with the way that I actually looked.
Self-love, the self-trust, the confidence, it all is so intertwined in ways that so many people and so many younger women especially, and older women I guess, but they sort of think like, I love myself, that means taking care of my, going and doing the bubble bath, or I'll only feel confident when I look a certain way. Like that's something I hear all the time, is like, I'll be confident, like I'll wear the gym clothes when I lose 10 kilos.
Yes.
It's like you won't.
Yep.
Trust me, you won't. You'll wear the gym clothes when you get to the gym 5 days a week for 3 weeks straight. Then you'll start wearing it because then you trust yourself and then you love yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, I really, really like that. What's like when it comes to confidence then, or self-trust, what are we sort of missing? Like what are the people not getting? Are we just not implementing those micro habits enough? Like if somebody's really lacking that, where do you think that's coming from?
This is going to sound harsh, but you lack integrity. Confidence is integrity.
Yeah. What does that word mean to you then? Integrity.
Integrity is being a woman of your word, to me at least. And the reason why I say that is because every single woman that I have seen struggle with confidence doesn't trust herself.
Yeah.
And she doesn't believe that she is a woman of her word, because when no one is looking, she is not keeping that word. And this is the thing. The thing that people are missing is that people are showing up one way when they're being watched by other people. But behind closed doors, they are a very different version of themselves. So it's like, yes, in front of other people. Let's say, for example, I want anyone listening to think about the first time when you meet someone new that you're going to date, right? You want to put your best foot forward and you want to I'm an entrepreneur and I've got a growth mindset and I'm so calm and all the things. You show all the good things, right? But we don't show what happens behind closed doors because when we're with other people, we want other people to see us a certain way. But we care more about what other people think than what we think of ourselves. And so the biggest thing that's going to stop you in your tracks is I want you to think of the person that you trust, admire, respect, or love the most. And I want you to ask yourself, would you still be proud if this person were watching what you choose in private?
Mic drop.
This is something that changed my life. When I told myself this and I took myself through this process, my God, was I embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, if they saw me do this, they would not want to be my friend or they'd leave me or whatever the story. And so every moment where I felt really challenged, even in the micro moments, even if it was, I told myself I'd get up to my, whatever time alarm, even in those moments, the micro moments, if this person were watching me, what would I choose?
That sparks so many things in my mind right now.
Bring it in.
But the little things are the big things, right? They really are. People always often underestimating those little things. The extra lick of food. I'm thinking about prep stuff because that's obviously right in the forefront of my mind right now. But like the people that are like, the little lick, like they underestimate how big of a role they play in the confidence. If you're constantly letting those things slip, you're going to let the big things slip eventually.
Absolutely.
I think about, there was a story, Tony Doherty, who's like the IFBB coordinator, he said a story about when he was interviewing the people that had won the Mr. Olympia, like the biggest bodybuilding comp. And he said like when he would interview them and he would ask people who won or people who came 10th, he'd say to them like, did you do every single thing in your power to perfectly, to be your best, to win? And he would say the people who win would always be those ones that don't hesitate, don't blink, they're like yes. And then the ones that didn't come in at their best, there would always a little bit of hesitation.
Yes.
And then they'd say yes. And I always think about that in my own prep. And I always think I want, if somebody asked me, did you do every single thing in your power? No hesitation.
Yeah.
And that prep is a really good example because what you do in private, in preps, no one's there holding your hand when you're doing cardio, and at night when you're starving, you can let little things slip, but it will always show.
Yeah.
And it might not show in your physique, you could get away with it, but it shows in the person that you are.
Absolutely.
Always.
I love that you said that. And I could only imagine what that's like, because prep would be one of those things where it really forces you, really shows you who you are in moments of challenge. And there's a quote that I heard, and I wish I knew who it was by. So if anybody knows, please quote it. But it's, I lost my train of thought. It went in and it went out. Yes. The quote was, did you try or did you move the fucking world to make it happen?
I love that.
And I was just, every time I think to myself, whenever I'm trying to do something, I'm like, am I just trying? Or did I move the fucking world to make it happen? And the difference between the two is worlds apart. And all of us have this innate drive and passion and fire within us. But a lot of the times, women, when it comes to confidence, we squander it because we haven't activated it or we've lost it somewhere along the way. And I think coming back to the question that you asked before of what are we missing when it comes to confidence, is that things in life happen that make us feel like a shell of a human. Say, for example, I had a past relationship that even though I've done 10 years worth of personal development, I still lost myself and became a shell of a human after a year and a half. And it's just a piece of evidence that it can happen to anyone. Even if you already feel confident, you can always come back, because it's like the marble jar theory. You take the marbles out and you lose that sense of confidence. But I lost my train of thought.
Your past relationship where you lost your sense of self.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so when things happen in life that will squander that sense of confidence in ourselves. But we get to choose whether we allow those things to stop us or to make us feel less than in ourselves. And for an example, in that experience, I don't know if many women would be able to relate with this as well, but, you know, I stopped making my life a priority. I stopped making myself, my life, my friends, my hobbies, the things that were really important to me, literally the highest priority on my list, because I made this man my world. And everything else around me, all of my, what I like to call stabilizers, came crashing down, and they weren't able to support me when the relationship broke down because I didn't prioritize them. And I think this happens a lot with women, especially mothers, women in long-term marriages, women who, you know, prioritize men. And this is a lot of the content that I talk about, is somewhat self-worth in dating and relationships and intimate relationships, is because women lose themselves when they make somebody else more important than themselves. And it's not to say that our partners or people around us aren't just as important, but we cannot pour from an empty cup. People do it all the time, but does it mean that we're going to get the best version of ourselves for us and for those people? Absolutely not. And so when it comes to confidence, if you have stabilizers in your life where you're getting little bits of fulfillment from like 5 different avenues in your life that you're constantly pouring into, you're going to feel stable all of the time. If you pour 99% of your energy into one, let's say I'm going to use a man for argument's sake, because that's the only example I can think of, is if you pour 98% of your energy into a man, when that man leaves, if something happens and something, God forsake, like doesn't work, what have you got? You don't have yourself. You don't have anything else in your life that's important to you. Your life is going to crumble. And you are going to feel 100 times worse than what you would have if you had strong stabilizers in your life that you prioritized. Hobbies, friends, family, solo time, and prioritizing the things that genuinely make you happy. And so I think when it comes to confidence, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. It's like, what are you doing in your life to create an immense amount of stability that you as a woman become your own fucking foundation? Because if like building a house, I used to be in construction, right? I did construction for 5 years. With a building, with a house, if you don't do the foundation correctly, that house is going to fall over. There's no stabilizers. If you can't be that for yourself, anything that you build on top of yourself is going to eventually crumble. It'll eventually fall. So the more that you put into yourself and the more time that you invest into yourself, selfishly, I'm going to own, like, it is not bad to be selfish, the better you can show up for the people around you, and the better your life is going to run, because your ship only runs as good as you do. And that applies to business, relationships, friendships, family, whatever it is that you pursue.
What do you think it looks like for somebody who doesn't have those foundations, but say they have like a healthy relationship? It's not, they don't see it breaking up in the next year or something. What happens to that relationship or that person over time if they don't actually fulfill their cup? Do you think that the relationship will just eventually crumble, or do you think that they'll just turn into a shell of a human?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. I think what tends to happen is and also speaking from experience, is that we end up putting pressure on our partner to be our everything.
Yeah.
And that's also a lot of pressure for one person to hold. And don't get me wrong, like when we find a partner we want to do life with, of course we want to do life with them. They take up a lot of our time. They're the person we end up spending the most time with. But your partner doesn't want a fan. Your partner wants a whole fucking human beside him. Same thing goes for men and women. We want individual humans to come together as individuals to create interdependentness, which is like when you're interconnected, but you're both independent as an individual, but you can also come together as well.
Yes.
And so I think without pouring into those other areas of your life, and this can easily happen when you get like slightly comfortable. I did it so many times. But yeah, you put pressure on that person. And as a byproduct of your behavior, you might start to get a bit more anxious. Where are you going? Who are you seeing? What are you doing? Can I come with you? You always want to be by their side. You want to be attached to their hip. You know, can I sleep over all the time? Like it becomes this onslaught of behaviors that usually tend to sabotage the relationship and create somewhat distance in the relationship. And then whatever happens from there happens from there. So as a woman who wants to, feel confident in herself and stable in herself, in her life, in her intimate relationships, is to build a life based on what you want to create in the world. Discovering yourself, building your sense of self-trust back up again, discovering what you feel passionate about and what actually lights you up in life, and making sure that you're actively integrating things into your weekly life that genuinely make you happy. Because the more fulfilled you are, the more you're going to pour into other people, the better quality life you're going to have.
Just comes back to like the values and just get really clear on that. I think so many people aren't clear enough on that. But yeah, that's a fantastic way of putting it. I think about my own relationship with Callum. Like we are very like that now. Like we are our own people who come together and kind of make each other very better. But when we were younger, we were like so in love. You just accidentally slip into that way of like depending on the other person for like happiness. And I remember seeing a post some I can't even remember who it was. It was some relationship lady, and she was saying like, don't expect one person to be a village of people. Like you can't expect your partner to be the person that you gossip to, you ask advice to have fun with, and all of these things.
Like a girlfriend.
Yeah, literally.
Like a very muscly bearded girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's like this one person can't be the village. And it's the same with like, your health, your happiness, your priorities. Like it can't be that one person, that one thing. I think having all these different areas of your life that fill you up is so important.
Oh, it absolutely is. And you just triggered a thought actually when you were saying all of those things. There was something that I read once and it said something like your partner is not responsible for your nervous system. And I found this interesting because I think there's truth to this, but I also think there's not. I think to some degree you are responsible and your partner is responsible for taking care of each other's nervous systems and how we impact each other. However, if we like go like full big picture of confidence, self-worth, taking care of yourself, mindset, whatever it is, it comes down to the state that you live in your nervous system day to day. And if you have an overly active nervous system where you are triggered, you feel unsafe, no matter where you go, what you do, who you're with, you're always going to find yourself running into a lot more challenges than if you were to be walking around with somebody who is calm, collected, cool, and chill most of the time.
Most of the time. How important is it for us to feel safe? That's a word that kind of gets thrown around a lot. Like even in the fitness space, it's like your body needs to feel safe to have its period and all these things. What does that mean to you then?
Safety to me, it comes back to feeling, it's almost like being able to rely on myself. Safety comes down to me knowing that I can rely on myself. No matter how I'm feeling, no matter what I'm doing, no matter what's happening, no matter what's happened outside of my life that is out of my control, I know that I can rely on myself in this moment. And I think that's what safety is, you're in a relationship and you're scared that they might cheat. Okay, that can be true, but I know that I'll be able to handle it if and when that ever happens. Okay, if I build this business and what if it fails and everybody watches me fail? Well, I know if it does, I can dust myself up, deal with a bruised ego for a second and get back up and start again. So I think that's what that means to me. And it does get thrown around a lot, but I really do think it's important because, again, it comes back to drowning out all of the noise and coming back into yourself. Like safety is being able to rely on yourself to show up, to hold yourself, to navigate all of the challenges and all of the hardships that you're going to experience in life, because life is no fucking fairy tale. I tell you that. There are beautiful things. Life is full of duality. Where there is pain, there is pleasure. Where there is hardship, there is love. Where, I truly believe, and on my journey of growth, like I can only experience pleasure to the degree that I experience my own pain. And I don't know why I ended up going there, but I think when we can expect that life is going to be full of challenges, we then better equipped ourselves to handle those challenges. We don't walk around bubble wrapping ourselves thinking like, oh my God, nothing in life is ever going to touch me or hurt me. That's not true. We all know that's not true. We've all been through serious experiences in life, some seriously severe and some very psychologically impacting, that we know that happens. So instead of trying to control the outcome and the narrative of, trying to control what everybody else is doing, making sure that we are well equipped for what's going to happen and what will come our way, and know that regardless of what happens, we're going to be okay.
That's, yes, so powerful. And as you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, like, I wonder if you think that when you were saying about safety, about how you have trust, like, oh, what if I fail this business? I know that I'm going to be okay. And my thoughts were like, do you think that because you went through the lows, you only have that trust in yourself because you've hit rock bottom and you've come back up?
Yeah.
And you just sort of answered my own question there.
And, even to add on to your question there, I sometimes don't even know that. Like, do I, like, I don't know what's in store for me. Like, I don't know what's going to come my way. And I can't ever really mentally prepare for the things that I may have to go through in life. And sometimes when I'm going through something, like even throughout this last year, when I'm going through something, I'm like, fuck, can I get through this? Can I handle this? I don't fucking know. Like right now in this moment, I don't know. But what I tell myself when I'm in that low is like, you've just got to keep swimming. You've just got to get out of this low. And I consciously know if I'm feeling in a low, I'm like, I'm in a low. I'm not thinking clearly. I'm not thinking straight. I'm more prone to negative self-talk. I know that I want to quit. I know that my fear is that it's all-time fucking high. So if you can just keep swimming and you can get through this 24 hours, the 24 hours on the other side of this is probably going to be better. And that's what I remind myself.
And you said it before about being neutral, like having everything, looking at life through a neutral lens.
Absolutely.
I like that as well, because when you do have those really low days, which we all do, if you can sort of look at it as like, oh, this is just it's just a low day that I'm having. It's gonna pass, rather than like going into the depths of it and feeling that real emotional low, and having those like big ups and downs.
100%.
Which I guess is probably like nervous system regulation.
Well, I like to call it I like to see it as like boundaries with yourself. Because our mind is a really powerful place, right? It can take us to some dark fucking places.
Yes.
Right? It can take us to some dark places. We have to have boundaries with ourselves around what we entertain. Because if you are spiraling, right, you're having a bad day. I do this all the time. We all do it. We spiral. We go, okay, we have like one negative thought and then we feed that negative thought. And then 10 minutes later, we're rocking back and forth on the fucking lounge because we're like, like what's happening? Like, what have I done? And then you sit in it for 3 weeks. And the interesting thing about that is the most powerful thing that you can do is, yes, see life with a neutral lens, but have boundaries with yourself about how much you entertain the low. Because, say for example, before you practice this, you might go, okay, I'm at 0, right? I go to 100 real quick. Now I'm deep in the low. I'm shame spiraling. I'm guilt tripping myself. I'm punishing myself. I'm the worst fucking human in the world. When you practice having boundaries with yourself, you might hit 49 and go, oh my God, I'm doing that thing again. Oh my God, I'm spiraling. Okay, no, we're not going to do this today. Nope. And you shift your focus and you focus on something else. Go move your body for 15 minutes. Change the energy in your body. Then all of a sudden, you've only spiraled 50% to the usual 100% that you would normally do. And then what happens is, as you train yourself to do this, you've now got a tool in your tool belt to go, okay, when I go through those emotional lows, I'm not going to spiral this time.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to spiral as bad because I have tools that actually help me stop going all the way to that depth of that shame. And so the next time that you implement that, you might hit 39. And then the next time, 25. And then the next time, you're at 11. And so on days where I'm struggling or I feel like I'm having a bad day, sometimes I might spiral all the way to 60. Sometimes I might spiral to 5 because I'm like, Tijana, come on. This happens every 4 weeks when you get your period. Don't fucking play with me, right? I know it happens. And so when you can start to implement these boundaries with yourself, which is a lot of everything that we've spoken about today is about how you show up. The more boundaries that you have with yourself, the better your life will be.
Absolutely. You said it before as well with like the discipline thing, with like you have to be really strict with yourself to build up the discipline. It's the same thing with the boundaries, like with the spiraling. Like sometimes you just have to be really strict with yourself and be like, no, we're not fucking doing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, you do. You have to have this like internal dialogue of like, but it's not coming from a place of force. Again, It comes from a place of devotion of like, hey, remember that thing you told me that we were going to do the other day? We're going to fucking do that today. Because on the other side of the fear and complaining and like fear mongering yourself, you'll be fine. And most of the time when I'm doing a task that I fucking hate, like taxes, or like something that I loathe doing, or I've created all this resistance leading up to doing the behavior, I will actively let myself complain about it while I do it. I fucking don't want to do the fucking, and then after 3 minutes, I'm good.
Doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like you're letting yourself express what feels true for you so that you're not suppressing it as well. Yeah.
I love that. What's one thing that anybody listening can take away? What's like one message that if they learn anything today, they could absorb and really find true for themselves?
Oh, that's a big question. I think to kind of touch on something we haven't spoken about, but it makes sense with what we've been talking about, is that everyone is wondering how they can become more confident and set boundaries with other people. But I think the biggest and the most important thing is that people get mixed up setting boundaries with other people instead of setting boundaries with themselves. And if you can learn how to set boundaries with yourself based on what it is that you want in this world, you will be fine. Because by doing that and by setting those boundaries with yourself, indirectly you're creating trust with yourself. Indirectly you're creating a better relationship with yourself. Indirectly you're building a relationship with your intuition and yourself and compassion with yourself. And then eventually you're going to become somebody that you are so inspired by that you're going to be like, wow, like I look myself in the mirror today and I'm so proud of the woman that I am. And I now am one of the women that I used to look up to when I wished that I could be this.
The word that just pops up in my mind then is just alignment.
Yeah.
You're aligned with the values and your actions and your self-talk. It all comes together. And when you're in alignment with all of those things, there's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no questioning whether or not you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's certainty.
Well, that is incredible. I'm so grateful that you've come on today. I feel like everyone listening is going to have so many little nuggets to take away. It really excites me when I have a conversation like this because there's so many people out there that are struggling with their confidence and they tackle it in just the wrong way. They're looking at the polar opposite things that they should be looking at. And as you've spoken about today, it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. We're working on those micro habits of building trust and integrity with yourself. And that's what gets the whole river flowing. Yeah. It's not about losing 10 kilos or finding the perfect partner or having 1 million followers. Yeah. It's, are you living in integrity? Are you living with your values?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I loved it.
Just one more thing on top, if you don't mind.
Of course.
So with something you just said sparked something for me, and confidence is a really vague word. And if there's one thing that like I can leave you with today as well, is that get more specific. Get more specific, because confidence in itself is just an umbrella. But what the fuck do you want to be confident in? What do you want? Genuinely ask yourself. I want confidence. Okay, what do you want confidence in? How do you want that confidence to look and feel? Because if you know I want to be more confident in myself to go to the gym 5 days a week is much more specific than I want to be confident in myself. I want to be confident in myself when I go into a public setting with new people and feel like I can own the room. That's specific. And you know what that gives you? That gives you the direct pathway of exactly the steps that you need to follow in order to create that into reality. And the thing that people struggle with the most with confidence is that 50% of the confusion is the lack of direction, because they're not clear. They don't have clarity. So if you can get really specific about what you want to be confident in, I can guarantee you the next 3 steps will reveal themselves.
That goes for confidence and literally everything. I'm like thinking about people that come to me being like, I want to be fit. Yeah. Okay, what the fuck? Like,
amazing. That's a good place to start.
Literally.
Like, where are we going to go from here?
Exactly. Like, how much do you want to lift? What do you want to like feel? And it comes down to those feelings of like, I want to be confident when I walk in the room, because usually we want the feeling that the thing we think we want gives us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, we want this, but no, you actually want what you think that gives you, the feeling that gives you.
So much. And you said something like this before where you said, I'll be happy when. That is the biggest fucking piece of bullshit I've ever heard in my life. It is the dangling carrot that you will chase for the rest of your life. Think of the feeling that you want to have, create it now in your body, and then you won't feel like you want or need for that thing so desperately because you will already be that.
Yes.
Biggest game changer.
Yeah. Focus on the feeling, and that's get clear on that. And then, do as you said before about like thinking about it every single day, work on those little micro actions. I really like that. I think that's what people are really going to take away from that as well. That's, so cool. And I feel like we could have a whole nother conversation on that, like stepping into that feeling. I actually just listened to a podcast the other day about that, about when you want something, you actually just want the feeling that it gives you, but you can create that feeling right now by looking at your life, finding where can I create that feeling immediately.
Yeah.
And then you'll start living and like taking action from a place of that feeling rather than lack.
Absolutely.
And that desperation for confidence is never going to give you confidence because all you're telling yourself is that you're not confident.
That's right. You're highlighting the gap of where you are not already that, as opposed to you showing up as the confident woman.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on. If people want to follow you, listen to you, get coached by you, where can they find all of your socials?
Beautiful. So you can find me at Tijana Bundalow. So it's spelled Tijana Bundalo. I'm on Instagram. If you want to message me for coaching, you can message me for there. I'm also over on TikTok. Or I also have a podcast as well called She Rises Podcast with Ashley and Tiana. And that's full of personal development, bestie advice, and all the fun things.
I love that. I was actually like scrolling through and there was just so many like different topics. I was like, wow, sex and this and this. And I was like, wow, it's so good.
The huge thing about the podcast is that both Ashley and myself really want to teach women it's okay to be multifaceted. And that's the thing. Like, I am not one thing. I'm a very multifaceted woman. I have like 27 personalities. And so through this is like allowing women to really own who they are and know that they're not just the kind girl or the nice girl. They're also the fire. They're also the bratty girl. They're also the really sexually embodied girl. Like, there's so many aspects to who we are. And like, that's what our podcast is about, is really like embodying all of that. And then underneath the podcast, we also have Australian retreats, international retreats, small in-person events and things like that as well. So if you want to come along and find out, you can message us there.
I love that. And just on that whole multifaceted point, you are my first guest on my podcast that is not like directly in the fitness space.
Stop
so
it.
Very exciting, because I was just saying to my partner Callum, I'm like, is like not a fitness influencer or like not an athlete or a bodybuilder, because that's what I'm trying to like branch out, and I'm discovering that in myself. And so thank you, because this conversation has been very different and eye-opening for me, and my listeners are really going to take a lot from this. So I'm super, super grateful.
You're so welcome. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to see how you branch out.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you so much. Guys, if you loved this episode, please share it on your Instagram, tag us both, go and listen to She Rises podcast. It's really, really fun, and they post 4 times a week, which is crazy. But we will see you all in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.